This conference will now be recorded.
Okay. I'll leave it up to you, Lisa, to get it started.
Katrina, do you want to say that opening for us?
Let me get that. Hold on. Did you get a copy of that too, Lisa? Let me just check my email. Hold on.
Let me see if I can find it.
Hold on. I have it if I have it. It's from Tim, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so pursuant to Governor Baker's March 12, 2020 order suspending certain provisions on the open meeting law, General Law 30A, Section 19, and the Governor's March 15, 2020 order imposing strict limitations on the number of people that may gather in one place, this meeting of the Freetown Board of, nope, not Board of Selectmen, Freetown Police Subcommittee is being conducted via remote participation. No in-person attendance of members of the public will be permitted, but every effort is being made to ensure that the public can adequately access the proceedings as provided for in the order. A reminder that persons who would like to view this meeting while in progress may do so by joining the meeting themselves. Instructions can be found on the meeting posting on freetownmass.gov, accessible from the minutes and agenda section. A recording of this meeting will be posted to the town's YouTube channel as soon as we are able.
Okay, sounds good. Well, what is that? Does everybody hear that noise?
Yes.
It might be my dog's tail. Is it like a thumping noise? Yeah, my dog's laying under the table, wagging his tail.
All right, I'll entertain a motion to approve the meeting minutes if everybody's had a chance to look them over.
So move.
Do you have a second?
Second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, and then we'll go into a construction update.
All right, Neil, you want to go over that?
Yeah, sure, I'll take that. Good morning, good afternoon, everyone. Hope everyone's healthy and okay. Construction update. As everybody knows, we resumed the site opening yesterday. We've had a response from 5 of the subcontractors, which was good to see. They were all anxious to get back to work. We have electricians on site, HVAC contractors, drywall, site contractor, and the siding crew. They've all been here this week. It's a little bit of a shakeout this week, being Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, composing for a solid week. Due to the health issues surrounding everyone, we are going to be reporting on a weekly basis now. There's other subcontractors that might be involved concerning work conditions, supply, demand, receiving inventory for the project. This is going to be revolving every week. We're going to be doing updates every couple of days just to make sure that everybody is still on board and being able to make it into the job site. HV Collins has been very forward with everything as far as what's happening on the site. We have the proper cleaning stations involved. We also have a nurse on duty from 6:45 to 7:30 a.m. Everyone will be tested for temperature. If that temperature is in excess of 100 degrees, we're not allowed on site. This is for the C-19 requirements for construction sites at this moment. And everyone is aware, if any, once you see anybody in distress, coughing, sneezing, To that nature, they'll be notified to Collins, and Collins will take the appropriate action for that day. Other than that, everything seems to be going along pretty good. Like I say, the guys were anxious today, the last couple of days to get back to work and proceed with the project.
Before I just add on to that, does somebody have a radio going? I think that's what I keep hearing is interruption. No? I figured I could blame it on you police officers, but I don't know where it's coming from, but maybe it's not. So what, just to kind of jump on what Neil just said, was everything that they have in place right now is complying with the governor's order for construction safety during the COVID-19 process. So they're not going above and beyond what's being asked of them, and they're not doing too little. They're doing exactly what's in the order. So they are moving forward. We'll talk about why there was a break in their work. I think we'll do that at the end under executive order. Lisa wanted to kind of take that offline because it does involve some legal discussions and that. So we'll get into that and why they left the job site, but they are back now. So I did ask them today, we had a call for our project meeting today. Does this have any effect to your overall schedule? And basically what they said was, at this time, we don't know. And I think that we're seeing that same answer on most of our jobs. We don't know what this is going to do to manufacturers, to suppliers, to supply chains. So right now we're just taking it on a day-by-day, week-by-week basis, and still shooting for the end of July. But we'll kind of see once this all shakes out.
Does anybody have any questions?
No.
Robbie?
Nope.
Okay. All right, let's go into project schedule update.
So I think I kind of just touched on that, Lisa, that overall schedule, don't really have too much of an update on the end game. Neil, if you want to kind of talk about what's going to be going on the next 3 weeks.
Yeah.
Sure, we still have the drywalls coming along very well on the inside of the building. They're up on the second floor. I'm going to say probably close to 80–85% done with the entire building so far, which is good. They're progressing very well on that. The HVAC contractor, they're starting to tie in more of their condensate lines, duct lines, and so forth, to all roof venting and so forth. This week, the contractor is proceeding with completing the leaching field for the septic system, getting the sand prepared, getting all the stone and piping, getting ready for that. They're also gearing up to start the tower work next week, as far as digging the hole. The surveyor was out today and he pinned the corners for the foundation for the tower. So that will be up and going next week. Yesterday, they dug out for the 2 propane in-ground tanks. That has been dug out, covered with stone. We're hoping possibly for a pour on Monday, weather permitting. We've got some rain coming in this week, and we're not sure what's going to be happening with that. And they're keeping the building clean. They actually have another gentleman who's been actually wiping down the bounce houses, the hand stations, handrails, and so forth. During the day. That happens 3–4 times a day as a protection for everyone else. So actually, we're not in too bad shape. We're looking pretty good.
All right, anybody, any other questions? All right.
One quick question. How's the moisture content in the building? I know there was some moisture issues when the roof was still open. Have those been all mitigated?
Oh, yeah, it's working out very well. Not only with we've had a little heat injected into the building for the contract. We keep maintaining it at 50 degrees. We've got 4 very large 3-foot diameter fans that help circulate the air around the building. We've got a couple of the openings open also just to get some fresh air in during the day. It looks pretty good, in good shape.
Does it look like there's not going to be any mold issues or anything?
No, I highly doubt that. No, we're looking good.
Excellent. Thank you.
Anybody else?
Nope.
All righty, moving on. Budget update.
All right, I did pass around the updated budget. It's update budget number 12, April 2nd, 2020. Not sure if everybody got a copy of it, but it was sent around, I think, yesterday. And so really what this shows is there was no adjustments to our budget over the past month. Our contingency is still in great shape at $474,000. And I still have my own set of accounting here that's not on the bottom of your page, but down here, what I've done is I've taken anything I know that we're going to have savings in and kind of rolled that into a rolling list of savings versus any PCOs that we might have. And still, I have us arriving, even with some change orders that we're going to talk about, on the north side of $500,000 at the end of this project. Now, that doesn't take into account of any additional costs there might be with the COVID crisis that we'll talk about as well. So, but we're still very healthy budget-wise. So, any questions?
Do we know if there's any relief in any of the stimulus packages that the government just passed with the COVID-19 stimulus package?
There's none that have to do with construction that we're aware of right now.
Okay, thank you.
Taylor,
Yes.
does our budget include computers, copying machines, things of that nature?
No, we had a small line for miscellaneous loose equipment, $25,000 that I don't think we've spent anything against yet. So there is that in the budget, but no, we didn't have any. There wasn't anything broken out for like AV or computers. So.
Okay, because that's something that is going to be necessary. The plans indicated 3 copying machines. The computers we have at the police station now are pretty old operating systems. Our record management server is near capacity. And then we're looking at things like floor mats for the rolling chairs to protect the carpets. Things of that nature. 2 live scan units that are necessary. The live scan unit, the Platinum we have now is so old they won't even enter into a service agreement. So these are all essential components that we're going to have to talk about.
Sure. If you could start putting together a list of those things and pricing or vendors, we can certainly help attack that with you. I don't know, obviously, what you might need for computers and things like that. So that's really information that would have to come from your side, but we can certainly assist as much as possible. And I think there's plenty of savings in some of these lines to fit in additional items if the committee agrees on it, certainly.
Okay, so I do have the list. I'll seek out pricing.
I'm just going to really caution everybody here, and I understand where you're coming from, Carlton. I'm just going to caution everybody. We don't know where we're going with this project right now and what may potentially happen. So we just got to tread very lightly. I'm just putting it out there because we are not going back to the town for more money. It's not going to happen. All right, anything else on budgets? Okay, materials testing.
Okay, material testing, we'll start to ramp that up. Since we have a lot more site work coming up, first thing on the list is going to be, we're going to get the geotech down to oversee when we get to the bottom of the foundation for the tower. And his recommendations, whatever's going to be required, we'll probably give SW Cole a call if we have to test the soil just to make sure that's okay. Also, SW Cole will be doing the inside of the building for any fire safing areas. When you have pipes going through rated walls and so forth, that has to be all fire rated and secured by the appropriate subs. So we'll get involved with that. And then we also will be doing some more concrete testing with any pad work. That would include the tower pad and also the pad for the propane tanks. And we have them on board and they'll be set and ready to go for us.
Taylor, anything to add?
No, other than everything's been great. We haven't had any failed tests. All the inspections have been great. Local inspections have been great. We haven't had one bump in the road, knock on wood, with any of our tests. So we're happy with how they've gone.
All right, anybody have any questions on that part of it?
Nope.
All right, change orders.
All right, does everybody have a copy of the change order log I passed out?
Yep.
If not, I will do my best to describe each item we're talking about. And there was actually an update, so I'll do my best to describe the update to that, but I just received it an hour ago and I didn't want to send out anything confusing. So the first one we wanted to talk about was number 20, the cell carrier infrastructure and shoring. And if you remember, we talked about this last time. It was a number around like 60 grand, and we just thought it was a crazy number that we couldn't agree to. So what we did was we went back and we asked the contractor to first break out the shoring, because that's something that we understood that needed to be done absolutely. We weren't going to be digging around this wall without the shoring in place. So we didn't have any option there. So the shoring, you'll see, I think I broke it out. It says it's about 16,000 on what I sent out. There was an updated price to that came through, and it's $18,191. If you want to write that in there.
So can you just repeat that?
Yep, it's 18,000.
Where am I adding the 18 to?
Do you see under line 20?
Yeah.
It says, and then under the reason for change, broke it up into shoring and then cell carrier.
Yep.
So cross out the 16 and change I had there for the shoring.
Okay.
And you can write in the 18,191. It went up like $2,000.
Okay.
And so the second part of that was we asked them to break out cell carrier infrastructure, and we asked them to do it two different ways. One, to give us the full run from the tower under the road to where the new cell carrier sheds would be. And then also just for conduit, just under the access road, no further connection to anywhere else. So the cell carrier would be responsible for coming in and connecting to the conduit that's under the road, but we wouldn't have to dig the road. We have two prices for each one of those options. The first option, which is under the road only, we just got this a half hour ago, is $27,520. And that doesn't include the markup, 7% markup from HV Collins when they submitted. This is just the price from them right now, from their site contractor. And then the full run is $37,061, 37061. Now, before we even talk about this, you know, part of me wants to say right now, with everything that's going on, don't do anything. And we save the money and make sure we're in a good place before we spend any on it. I know that's kind of short-sighted, because the other option would obviously be to at least get the conduit under the road. And these are numbers that are going to be not to exceed numbers. So we still didn't agree with the pricing. And so what would be done is Neil would watch the work happen. We'd sign off on all the materials that go in place, and hopefully we come in under this, but it can't be any more than this. So really, I think there's two ways to look at it. Like I was saying, don't do anything, save the money, and have the cell carrier, whoever comes in after, you know, do the work. Roads are cut all the time. Roads are patched all the time. I know it sucks, but you could be potentially saving, you know, $40,000 by waiting right now. Or you move forward at this time and you put it in, and the cell carrier company that comes in doesn't have to do any of that digging.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
Yes.
Okay, Taylor, your contingency balance that you had on the prior sheet, does that include these changes or not?
So if I include those changes, and also the savings I'm seeing in some of our lines, our contingencies at 513.
Even with these changes that you're talking about now?
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Can I say something to Sandy?
Yes, Andy.
Hi. The end of the road thing is very obvious. You know, we know what we're doing there, and I agree with Taylor. It'd be no big deal to cut and patch. I'm more concerned about them running along that retaining wall. You can see that we're spending $18,000 to shore up to dig within the same distance that the subcontractor would be digging when he went to put his conduit in. And we have drainage structures that go in that same area. I would love not to spend any money because the carriers would have to do it later. It's just going to be a very tricky situation for them to dig in that area when they're going, as soon as they come off the tower, they're going to run parallel with the retaining wall for about 80 feet, and that's going to be very hairy. And they might have to do an extensive shoring system like we're doing now, and that might just scare them away. So I'm concerned about that more than I am the road.
I really have to agree with Andy on the concept, especially to run it now. It just makes more sense than down the line trying to run it. Whether it scares away a carrier or not, that's less of a concern than if they're running along the retaining wall. What damage they could do to the retaining wall, the integrity of the retaining wall. I really think just conduit would be important at this point. Not run the extra wire, just a conduit. Is that conduit oversized at least so it becomes a sleeve later on if their need changes?
It's 6 inch.
It's 6 inch. Okay.
The thing is too is that we charge it back to the vendor, you know, when that happens. The unfortunate part is you have to spend the money and it would go back to the general fund versus specifically towards the project. But, you know, the retaining wall, I think, is a real concern.
Lisa?
I totally agree. The retaining wall is a concern. It has been a concern since day one. So that's where my head's at right now.
Lisa, I think we should do it. Do the whole thing so we don't have any issues later on. I agree with Robbie and you know what? So what? The money goes back to the general fund. It's all taxpayers' money anyway. So, you know, I think because if we get into a situation where something happens over there, we're going to be in a court battle on whose fault it is. In my opinion, we ought to just get it done. Oh, okay.
Anybody else? Ben?
No, I mean, my only concern would be like, is it worth the $10,000? I understand like near the wall where the issue is, but is there an issue with the value to that extra $10,000 later? Run the full run.
I personally wouldn't spend the extra $10,000 to put the wire in, especially if they don't choose to use that wire for some reason or some technology changes. The wire is different. To me, as long as the conduit's there, shoring the conduit there, that makes the most sense to me.
Yeah, and honestly, Ben, the extra $10,000, if you were to go do this later, if you only do under the road, and then you went to do the additional run, that additional run is going to cost you a lot more than 10 grand because you're remobilizing everybody. It's a different contractor. It would be a lot more.
All right, so there's a savings there.
Yeah, I think there's a value doing the rest of it while you're only doing under the road. Absolutely.
Okay.
I'll make that as a motion that we spend $18,191 for shoring and the conduit of $27,520.
Second.
It would be,
Any more discussion?
the full run for the tower would be the 37061. Are you looking to do just under the road or the whole run?
Just under the road.
Oh,
just the conduit. I thought you had a number of 27,520 for just conduit.
that is just the conduit, just under the access road. That's not the full run to the tower.
That's not the full run to the tower.
No, you need to add another 16,000 on top of that. Is that correct?
No, it's another 10.
It's another 10.
Yeah, the full run to the tower is $37,061.02.
So I'll amend my motion to the 37,061.02.
I'll second that again.
All right, anybody have anything else that they want to add? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay,
Okay, moving on to number,
It's Andy again. Just one more thing. You just want to make sure everyone understands that's not the number they're going to see the change order come across as.
it doesn't include the 7%.
It doesn't include the 7% from Collins, but hopefully we can get that down because it's not to exceed. And if we do our job up front, making them itemize how they're going to charge us, I think we can get that reduced.
I think so too.
we're gonna hold Neil to that.
I have no doubt.
My pencil will be sharp that day.
If there's anybody watching that, it's Neil. I have no doubt. 21, the firewall framing and drywall. This was a firewall separation that we had talked about last time that wasn't shown on the drawings. This needed to be completed. We had estimated it would be about $6,000 last time we spoke, and the final number for that came in at $4,902.87. That work is done because it was done on a T&M basis.
Do you have a motion?
So moved.
Hello?
I just dropped something.
Second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Maybe just raise your hand. Aye.
The next one, 22, was a liner for the septic leach field. This was requested by the Board of Health. After review, the engineer said, could you get away with it? Yes, but it's a kind of a belt and suspenders, but he feels that if the Board of Health is asking for it, we should put it in. So this is additional scope to put in that liner, and that liner is $3,188.35.
Do we have a breakdown why the Board of Health is requesting it?
Andy, do you want to speak to that?
The Board of Health is requesting it because of the slope of the it's, I don't know if I'd really call it a raised system, but as you know, these systems today, you need 5 feet between the water table and the bottom of the system. So the system's raised up, then it spill over it, and then the fill slopes down, going out towards the wetlands. The Board of Health agent recommended it because of the slope. It would help to make sure that the slope does not deteriorate and nothing leaches out of the side.
Distance between system and water table, we've waived that. The Board of Health has waived that in the past, down I think 4 feet. Is there a specific thing, Lisa, that you know of that is why he's requesting the liner?
Well, we asked Andy to go back and Taylor to go back and talk to him about it, but he was very adamant. And we also asked the engineers as well, and he was adamant that this had to go in. I questioned it as well, Robbie.
Okay.
But at the end of the day, he's requesting it. So.
Is it worth revisiting?
What's the number again, Taylor?
$3,188.35. I'm trying to find the email now from the engineer based on his conversation with Vector.
The engineer said, I remember it specifically. The engineer says that if push came to shove, he could find something in the code that would say it was necessary as an interpretation.
Okay.
Robbie, we don't even know what other construction might be going on in that area, and with the schools close by and stuff. You know what? I'd rather just.
That's
all
fine.
right.
I just wanted, it's something that the Board of Health has waived a bunch of times between the separation, but if the engineer is sticking to it, then that's fine.
So,
Right.
yeah. So anyways, it's not, it would be too late. What's happened now is they built it to the certain separation with all the elevation, and the slope is going to be what it is. So it's going beyond waiving it. We would have had to waive it earlier to get the septic lower. To reduce
No,
the
I
slope.
understand. I understand. I just didn't know if that's why we're in this situation now, or if we didn't apply for waiver earlier, or why, but that's fine.
Yeah.
I've been open.
So, and I think also too, with the elevations of the site and the drainage ditch out front and the wetlands over to the east, I don't think it would have been wise to lower the system anyway. So, I think we got it right. It's just that, technology advances every day. If this was 10 years ago, this membrane wasn't even invented yet.
Right. So I'll make a motion to approve the change order. What was the number again, Taylor? I'm sorry for the third time.
No problem.
318835.
Correct. 318835.
318885.
35.
35.
35. Wow. 50 cents. 35. There we go.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in
Second.
favor?
Aye.
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 And our next one was trap primers for the vehicle auxiliary bay. This is on the second floor where you'll be storing vehicles. This is not a code requirement, but the plumbing inspector would like to see them installed. So if you don't really know what a trap primer is, it basically keeps the traps wet in the floor so that you don't get the smell of sewer gas coming back up. So we were kind of pushing it around, saying the chief could just have an operations guy go up there and dump water every 2 weeks and it'll be fine. I'm sure that'll take care of it, but I don't know if it's going to satisfy the plumbing inspector. But the way that they did do this was by putting the trap primer on the second floor one, it primes all your other ones below it. So we didn't pay for one on every floor. It takes care of the ones in the bathrooms. It takes care of everything in the building, really, by doing this one. So it actually makes good sense to do so. And the price for that was $1,946.20.
I'll make that motion.
Do
Second.
I have a second?
I
All right.
second.
All in favor? All in favor?
Aye.
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 All right, you're gonna like the next one. Credit. So in our specifications, we had a BDA, which is a bidirectional antenna, which is really a big amplifier, and this was for the radio system. Now, our radio consultant has told us that we don't need one for the radio system because our control station is going to be on the tower. What we do need one for is cell service. If anybody that's been there to the site knows, cell service there is dead. Now, the cell service BDA is about $10,000 less. So we've been able to work with the electrical company to swap out the radio BDA for the cell BDA, and that's a credit of $10,101.
Oh, nice news.
Nice.
So, do I have a motion to approve that one?
I'll make that motion.
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Second.
How about opposed? You didn't call for the opposed people.
All right, so that takes care of everything on change orders, but I do want to bring up one thing in terms of a claim that we're going to be seeing at some point, but the contractor, because of the new guidelines that say you have to have a nurse on site, says you have to have a laborer cleaning, you have to have hand stations, you have to have this and that, there is added scope. And so the contractor is currently putting together what that bill would be, and they're estimating somewhere between $5,000 and $6,500 a week. And yes, so that's what we heard. We have not seen the bill yet. We have not seen the claim, so we have not agreed to anything. We have not said anything besides, all right, show us the bill. Lisa and I have kind of talked about this offline. If we can, use the town nurse, that might be an option. to get rid of some of this cost. I have a feeling just based on, they have to be on site for like 45 minutes. I bet based on that alone, they have a 4-hour minimum. So we'll get all the documentation and see that. We're going to do our best to cut that down. But really what I kind of wanted to get a flavor from the committee was, I would think that everybody at this point, the goal would be to keep this moving. I think if the town were to shut down the project and say you're not working because the cost is going to be too much for your weekly cost, well, they're going to say, well, the governor said we could work with these, things in place. Now there's delay claims, and we're going to be looking at the end of this being a lot more expensive than paying these costs as we go along, and we kind of know what those costs are going to be on a week-by-week basis. So I just wanted to bring that up, as it is something we're being told we'll be receiving a claim for. We've been in contact on a daily basis with town council, Lisa and David, throughout all of this. And I'll get into that as we get into the executive session. But as far as cost-wise and something that could affect us, I wanted to bring that up.
What's the estimated number of weeks at this point?
Well, everything's out till May 4th at this point. If that's, that's when everything goes back to normal, then, it would go back to normal, but we just don't know.
So how many weeks is that, May 4th? 8 weeks? Oh, 8 weeks?
5.
Yeah, about 5.
Oh, 8 weeks. Oh, yeah, 5 weeks.
Yeah.
25,000 plus?
Yes.
And that's if we end on May 4th. The way this is going right now, there's no saying when it's going to end.
I don't think it's going to be May 4th.
No, nor do I. But
What's our length estimate of finishing the job? When do we expect it to be done by? September?
July 30th.
You think it'll be off site by July 30th?
Well, I have a feeling this is going to slow things down. So, hopefully August, but it's a moving target right now.
And we can get into the nitty gritty of this during executive session. But this is just to put this on the table and Carlton, that's where I was coming from, because we don't know what's going to happen. So that's why I said what I said.
Yeah, and that's, it is what it is. We're seeing this go on with every project. It sucks, but it's what we're living with right now.
And again, Taylor and I did talk, if we could find some ways to, when we get their number in and when we see what they're charging us for, if we can cut some of those costs out, then, like by using the town nurse or by, getting supplies to them or whatever we can do to cut that cost, we're going to try to do that.
Yeah, the town nurse sounds like a viable option. That's a good idea.
It's a great idea.
What if you can't get the nurse? Could you get like an EMT or a paramedic that's on staff that could go down there for an hour? It's another option.
Yeah, it says the language says a nurse or medical trained or it says a medical trained professional or nurse, but it's somebody that's
but I would think that a paramedic is considered, because a lot of paramedics also work per diem at the hospitals. So
absolutely.
That's another good idea.
Yeah, and they're on board.
And then the same thing goes for the laborer. They have cleaning, doorknobs and things people are touching most of the day. If there's a town cleaning person that is going building to building, maybe this is something they hit. I don't know if that's possible, but once we get kind of that rundown of what that total cost is, we're going to pick it apart and find a way to make it advantageous to us.
Okay.
They're looking for porta-johns, they're looking for wash stations. Those are just some of the things that they were looking for. And if there's a way for us to cut some of those costs out, I just think that we should look into it.
Absolutely.
Okay. Taylor, anything else under that?
Under PCOs, nope, I don't think I had anything.
Bill, do you want to talk about speakers while we're talking about PCOs?
Yeah, we're going.
Wait, before we move on from that, let's talk about, can we get RFI 71 taken care of? So I can answer that tonight. Taylor?
Yeah, I wanted to talk about that in executive session, Andy.
Okay.
We'll do that, Andy. You won't be left out in the cold, believe me.
All right, fine.
Yeah, Virgil, we were going into owner vendor updates anyway. So if you want to kind of take that away with, I'll just say quickly, the tower we have the contract for, the foundation for that is going to be I should say the excavation for the foundation is going to be complete hopefully by the end of next week. So the week after they'll be starting the foundation. So everything with the tower is moving well. The furniture, we're complete with the contract that has gone out to the vendor. Same with phones, that's gone out to the vendor, and then our dispatch consoles is in the process of going out. So all of our big ticket items have been bought out. And that's why I see savings in those line items. So the only thing that we had open was the paging, which we talked about last time. And I know Virgil's worked with the chief on that. So if you guys want to give an update on that, that would be helpful.
Yeah, let me just go back to the furniture. So I did talk to Sheehan, and the good thing is that ASI is still operational. So that probably about 6-7 weeks out. So that's a good note. So as far as the speaker system, last time we met, we actually talked about that, and there were some questions and concerns about the number of speakers and the need for speakers. So I spent some time with Chief Abbott, and we kind of went through kind of a rundown of some talking points, and then ultimately the budget. So the plans actually show an original count of 55 locations, and those were conduit and junction box locations that Andy had shown on his plans. After further review, we kind of scaled those down to a total of 29. We only put them in critical common areas and back office spaces such as the cop port, the locker rooms, and anywhere that officers would be, possibly stationed. In kind of going through the need for this, I spoke with Carlton, and please feel free to, chime in at any time. So the existing radio system that the police department uses basically only transmits dispatch calls that come in to the station and are dispatched from the dispatchers. One of the things that we learned in this conversation is that the current station has a scanner with some makeshift speakers that are placed throughout the building that also take calls from other Bristol County departments as well as Mass State Police. And those calls could vary from, BOLO calls or anything else that comes in. Now that scanner is also monitored by the dispatchers, but keeping in mind that the dispatchers may be on a call, or be making calls, and what they do is they tend to turn down that scanner, volume down. So the speaker system that we would have would be a combination of things. It would actually transmit dispatch calls that are being handled internally, as well as any of those scanner calls that are coming from Bristol County departments or Mass State Police. So in the event that you have, let's just say, a night shift, there are dispatchers on the call, they're occupied, a Mass State Police BOLO comes in, there's an officer in the station, he would not hear that on his radio, but he would hear that over the speaker system. So, with that said, this has kind of been an integral part of their operation with the scanner, in that it somewhat has become, a need. Obviously, the reason why we're talking about this is because it wasn't factored into the original plan to have the speakers installed, but more so the infrastructure and the conduits were in place. So we had talked originally, of a $28,500 phone budget, which you guys awarded. That was based on a $35,000 budget. So we did see a savings there of, I think, about $7,000 on the phone system. So now we're looking at basically between the paging system and the cabling associated with the paging system, a total of $19,000. Let's round it off to 20. So the request for this PCO, if approved, would be roughly 20,000. And I will just kind of turn it over for any questions or comments.
Okay. It is what it is. Do I have a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay.
So that was easy. I was expecting.
There's a lot more important things right now.
I just saw Carlton with a little smile on his face.
I always have a smile on my face.
All right. The last thing we have here before we kind of discuss what's going on with the contractor. Utility update. Everything's been good so far. Neil actually was smart.
Yeah, I sent, yeah, I'll take it, Taylor. With everything going on health-wise and so forth, I sent out an email to all the utility vendors, and we've had 3 responses today, all very good. Nobody seems to be backed up right now. We're probably going to be looking at, once we get all the infrastructure in for the conduits for the telephone, Comcast, power and so forth, we're probably looking at a 2-week lead time. Nothing has changed. So we are in good shape with the major utilities. And also we did have Eversource out here today. They made their final inspection for the transformer pad. So as soon as we get the inspection made by the electrical contractor, we'll be ready to go to start pulling power to the site. So we're very in good shape right there.
Any questions?
Oh, yeah. What the heck is Ben doing?
Ben, what are you doing?
I was gonna get a charger.
What? Oh my God.
Yeah.
All right. Anybody have any questions?
No.
Great.
Mm-mm.
There's no invoices, correct, Taylor?
No, everything's been sent over to the town.
All right. New business. Anybody have anything? Ben?
No.
Robbie?
No.
Paul?
Nope.
Carlton?
Nope.
Mary?
No?
Mark?
No,
Wow, Mark, you really are alive.
yeah, I am.
Andy?
Nope.
Okay. Virgil?
No, I'm good. Thank you.
All right. Neil?
Good, thank you.
Taylor?
I'm good.
All right. Did I miss anybody?
Me, but that's all right.
Oh, David, because I can't see. I'm so sorry. You don't have a name under you. You have to put a name there so I know that you're there.
That's no
David, do you
problem.
have anything?
Nope.
Okay, perfect. All right. I'll entertain a motion to go into executive session, not to return into open session.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second it.
I don't have the proper language in front of me, but it's possible litigation. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Poll the
Aye.
members. Poll all the members. Just say aye, please. Ben?
Aye.
Robbie?
Yes.
Paul?
Yes.
Carlton?
Yes.
David?
Yes.
Mark?
Aye.
Mary?
Yes.
Did I miss anybody? Perfect. All right, Taylor, I'll let you take that over.